So in the last class, we are seeing about Spring MVC module, and we have taken an application how to read form data into Spring MVC controller. So for that, we have created one form where we have accepted the book details. And in order to store the data, we have created one bean class, book class, and controller is very, very important. So based on the mapping, it enters into the controller. And in this, we are creating book class object, and we are reading the form data, and we are adding to this, we are binding this all data to this object by calling setter methods, and we are adding here model.add attribute book, and we are passing this book object, and we are returning the view name, that is display. So once it goes to display, it's displaying our book details in tabular format. Today, let us move to the next one. Here, how we have created form using HTML tags. Using HTML tags, we are creating the form. In Spring also, they have given tags to create the form. So today, main objective is we are going to see Spring Web MVC. Spring Web MVC module provides form tag library. Spring MVC also provides for form tag library. Like these are the examples, like form. Whenever you want to create a form in Spring, we have to use the tag form : form to create a form. Then to go with the input field, we'll say form : input. So these all tags related to form tag library of Spring MVC. To go with password, we'll say form : password. To go with the radio button, we'll say form : radio button. To go with the checkbox, we'll say form : checkbox. Next one, form : select for drop down list. Right? So these are some of the form tags which are available in this form tag library of Spring MVC module. Let us understand these all things with the example application. Create a Spring Starter project. Spring Starter project in STS. So here we go with the name Spring. Let me go here, student web MVC project. So the thing is like here in this case, we are going to accept the student details. We are going to create a form where we are going to accept the name of the student. We will accept the mail of the student, email. We are going to accept the gender. When you go with the gender, we'll go with radio buttons, male or female. Then we go with the codes. We'll take here codes, where we go with the drop down list here. We are going to select a drop down list, and here timings. Timings means whether you want to attend this course so and so time here, 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. like that. So this is the form what we are going to design. So here we are going to go with the student web MVC project here. So next one, type, we'll say Maven. Packaging var Java version. Let us go with 17. Then group. Let me take com.rajtech. Artifact, it takes the name only. That is student web MVC project. Then package, let us go with com.rajtech.student web. Some names. Then click next. Then here we are going to add the dependencies. Add the following dependencies. What dependencies we are going to add over here is we go with the Spring Web, and here what are the details we are accepting from user, I want to store it into database table. So in order to interact with the database, we make use of which module? Spring Data JPA. There. And one more thing here, I want to use embedded database of Spring Boot. So up to now we have used MySQL. So Spring Boot comes with even embedded database also, and that database we call it as H2 database. We call it as what? H2 database, a temporary database. There. So it's only for practice purpose because it won't store data permanently. Once we close the application, we cannot see the data once again. Now, we go with H2 database. Then we'll go with the Spring Boot DevTools. Then Lombok. So these dependencies we are going to add in the project. Now, let us develop this now. Create a Spring Starter project. We are going with a new project here. Let us go with the name Student Web MVC project. Type Maven, packaging var, Java version 17, group C. Then this one Student Web MVC project. Here we go with the package com.rajtech.student web. Some package names. Click next here. Here we go with the dependencies like Lombok. Then we go with the Spring Boot DevTools, Spring Data JPA, Spring Web, and one more. What is the one? H2 database. We go with here. What? H2 database. It's an embedded database. Instead of MySQL, we go with H2 over here because even we should have an idea of H2 database as a Spring Boot developer. Now click on Finish button. There. So when we go with the Spring Boot does not support JSP. So in order to get support with JSP, what I said, we have to add one dependency. What is that? Tomcat Jasper. Let me copy this. Tomcat embedded Jasper. This dependency we need to add explicitly to our pym.xml file. To the project, we need to add this explicitly. What is that one? Tomcat embed Jasper. Right? So what is our next step? Add the following dependency in pym.xml file. Next one. The next step here, let us create the form now. Let us create a form. For that, create a folder views in web app folder. Create a JSP file. Let me go with the name add student.jsp. We are going with the name add student.jsp in views folder. In views folder, we are going to create a file add student.jsp. This is our welcome page. So when we run an application, it should open this JSP page. Now let us do this step. Here under src main, we are under web app. We have to create a new folder. What is that? Views. In this views folder, create a new file. Let us go with the name add student.jsp. Now here we are going to use Spring MVC form tag library. So in order to use Spring MVC form tag library, we have to use this tag called as %taglib URI equal to http://www.springframework.org/tags/form, and we'll say prefix as form here. Prefix equal to form. So this is the tag we have to use in order to make use of Spring MVC form tag library. Now here we go with the body section. this body section, we'll go with heading like H3, student registration form. Student registration form. Then here, whenever you want to create form, we use here form, action equal to save. I'm going with action name save. Then I'm here mentioning very important one, model attribute. The model attribute name is student here. Then the method as post be, because we don't want to send the data along with the URL, so we'll say method as post. So whenever you click on submit button, what is action name say? Remember, save model attribute student. I'll come to this and explain again. Now here go with the table. Create a table. Here we go with the table. Here we'll say TD student name. What we are going to accept here, student name. We'll say TD. Now we want to create a input text field. So for that we have to use tag here form colon input. Form colon input path equal to student name. The name of the path is what here? Student name. Then similar way, accept the remaining data. So what is this path? Everything I'm going to elaborate. Accept here student email. Then we'll say form input path equal to student email. Next one. Here we'll accept student gender. We'll say here form radio button. Here we go with what? Radio button. Radio button. The path equal to student gender. Next one. Next one. We'll take the next one as course. The course what you want to join. Course. Then for this course, we'll say form select here. So from the list of courses, we want to choose one course. So form select path equal to course. Path equal to what here? Course. Then next one. Next one, we'll say here form option codes. Here only we should say form option value equal to select. Form option. Then the form options are items equal to will write here dollar curly braces courses. I'll explain what is this dollar curly braces courses. Then next we'll say form select close your TD. Right? This is the open TD and this is our closing TD. Now the next one. Here we'll say TD a empty one. Then we'll say again TD. We'll create one submit button. Input type equal to submit. So for submit, there is no form field in Spring MVC. Directly we have to use HTML only. Value equal to save student. While equal to what here? Save student. Close your TD. So close your table, close your form. Right? Now, so this is the form. What you are accepting from user? You are accepting the name, email, gender, codes. So in that codes, we'll be selecting the codes, and here we are going to have a submit button. So when you click on this submit button, what is the action names here? Save. Now what I want to do is, here what are the details we are accepting from user? These details I want to persist into a database table. So in order to make use of database table, here we have to go with what? A entity class. So the next step is, let us go with what? Entity class. So for that, create a package com.rajtech.studentweb.entities. Create a entity class. Let me go with the name student entity in this package. Student entity. Let us create now entity class. So for this, under src main Java, create a new package. Let us go with the name com.rajtech.studentweb.entities. In this package, create one entity class. Let us go with the name student entity. We are going with the name student entity. Here you go with the properties like this. Private. So what details we should accept here? We have to go with the student ID, then name, then email, gender, codes, and preferred timings. So here we go with the properties like private, integer, student ID, private, string, student name, then private, string, student email, private, string, student gender, private, string, codes, then private, string, preferred timings. Now apply the Lombok annotations, that is at the rate no args constructor, at the rate all args constructor, at the rate data for setters, getters, and toString method. Then to mark this student entity as entity class, we can go with this at the rate entity, at the rate table. We are going with the name of the table as student details. Then now mark this student ID as primary key at the rate ID, and we want to generate this primary key automatically. Then we use the annotation at the rate generated value. So in order to generate the primary keys automatically, we'll use the annotation at the rate generated value. Then to change the column name, at the rate column name equal to student underscore ID. Then similar way, we change the columns to other properties. Student underscore name, student underscore email, student underscore gender, codes. Next one, preferred timings. So these are our JPA annotations and Lombok annotations, right? So this completes our entity class. Now, Once we create entity class, now what it should do? We have to create the repository interface related to this entity class. So for that one, create a package com.rajtech.studentweb.repositories. Create an interface student repository in this package. Student repository. Let us go with the repository interface. Right click on src main Java, create a new package. Repositories. In this repositories package, create a new interface, student repository. Mark it as repository. How to mark it as repository? At the rate repository. There. Now make this interface extends JPA repository. What is our entity class name? Student entity. Then primary key data type is integer. That's it. This completes our repository interface. Clear up here? Any questions? Now, let us move to the major and important one, the controller class. So whenever you make a request, it goes to what? Controller. So for that, create a package com.rajtech.studentweb.controllers. Create a controller class. This is the major important code to discuss. Student controller in this package. So everything I'm separating in the form of packages here. Student controller. In this package, we are creating a class student controller. This is the major piece of code to discuss. How to mark it as a controller class? At the rate controller. Now here, so we are going to make use of this student repository. So by using this student repository reference only, we can insert our student details into the table. So here, go with the property. Go with the property. Student repository. Repo. I'm just going with the name repo and inject it automatically. How to inject? Automatically at the rate autopilot. Right? Now by using this repo only, we can able to take the student object data and insert into table. Now, the first step what I need to do is I need to load this form. So when you run the application, we need to load this form. So how to load this form is, whatever the URL it may be, I want to load the form. So here we'll say here, we'll create a method public string load student form. We'll say here model. And here we'll say return add student. Return add student. Okay, so when you run the application, what will happen? It is going to return which view here? Add student. So here, when you say at the rate get mapping, when you say at the rate get mapping, and the mapping can be anything. Slash means what? So just if you use http://localhost 8080, then automatically it is going to load what? Add student. So it's going to see the view name as add student.jsp, and this form will be loaded to us. This form will be loaded. Okay. There. Now the next thing. Here what I want to do is, let me do one thing. Let us go to this application.properties file and let us provide our prefix and suffix so that I can show how it looks. Spring.mvc view prefix. What is our prefix? Views / views, and spring.mvc view suffix .jsp. We are providing the view resolver details here. Now let us run this project up here. Right click on project and say run as Spring Boot app. Now see here, when we open the browser and when we type the URL http://localhost:8080, just to say 8080. Form select somewhere something is mistake, type mistake. We have taken the course. So there only we have closed it here. So here the closing is already there, but I have done the mistake by closing over here. It's a mistake here. We run here. Small typo mistakes only. Okay, the target is not there. Okay, not an issue. Now, see here, what you are doing whenever we are just typing here http://localhost:8080. Since we have mentioned slash, we did not give any path here. So automatically it's going to load what here? Add student. So it goes to this add student, this form will be displayed. But we have done the binding, model attribute binding as student. That's the reason we are getting error over here. Now the next important thing is, what are the form data we are getting here? Like student name, student email, then gender, this course, and the next one, this course, and one more is left out, no? Timings. One more is listed here. preferred timings. Form checkbox. Form checkbox is items equal to dollar curly braces timings. And we'll say path equal to preferred timings. What we are from user, we are going to accept the name, email, gender, codes, and these timings. These all details, I want to store it into one object. I want to bind it to an object here. So this is the major concept to understand here properly. Whatever the data we are filling in the form, I want to take all this data and bind it to one object over here. We want to bind it to what? One object here. So how to bind it to an object is here. Let us go with the method public string handle submit. Handle submit student stud. Then say model. So here it will say at the rate post mapping save. At the rate post mapping save. Now, so what is going to happen here is automatically we need not write any code here. So once we click on this submit button, what is the action name is saved. So when the action name is saved, it comes to this controller, sees the mapping as saved, then automatically whatever the data we are filling here, that is name, email, student gender, codes, this preferred timings, all these details will come and store into the student object automatically. But do you have a student class here? No, we are having student entity class. Student entity class is for what purpose? Student entity class is to take your student details and persist into the table. And this student class is for what purpose? To read the data from your form and bind it to this object. That is the use of the student class. So for that purpose, let us create one class here. Creating package com.rajtech.studentweb.binding. This is very important. This is the new concept here. Now say create a class student. Create a class what here? Student in this package. In this package, create a class student. What is the need of this? Mainly to bind our data. What is the meaning of binding? Whatever the data user is filling in the form, those all data I want to store it into one class object so that I can play with the object here. And I need not read the data at all. So here we are having something like yesterday we have seen at the rate request param. In the olden days we have used request.get parameter. Those all things are not at all required. Your Spring MVC is going to take care of reading this form data and bind it to what? Here the student object. Now let us create this student. Form.rajtech.studentweb.binding. In this package, create a new class student. Then here you take what are the names we have taken here now. These names are important. So based on these names only, it's going to do the binding here. So what are the names we have taken? We have to use the same names in this student class only. Then only the binding is going to happen here. So here we have to take integer. What are the names here? What is the path name? Student name. Then automatically it comes to this student class because we have given the binding class name as what here? Student. So automatically it comes to this student class. The value what you have entered in this input field, I have given the path as student name. Automatically that value will come and store into this property student name of this student class. The next path is what? Student email. Next one is what here? Student email. So provide string student email. Then the next one, student gender. Same names we have to use. Then only the binding is going to happen. If the names are different, then the binding will not happen over here. One more you can take private integer student ID. Next one. We have taken ID, name, email, gender. Next one, course. Private string course. Next one is preferred timings. One is what here? Preferred timings. So here we'll say private string preferred timings. But here for user, here what we have done, see, we have taken here a checkboxes. So here we'll be providing multiple checkboxes. So here we'll be having of selecting multiple options. So to store that multiple data, we go with what here? Array. We go with what? Array. Then go with the lambda connotations @data @data. So that's enough for us. So to generate just setters and getter methods, right? And very, very important one, whatever the names we have taken, now this path name, this should match over here. Then only it can able to bind to this student class. Then only it can bind to this student class. Got it up here? Right? No. Here we'll say return add student. Return add student. Let me run up here and check it. Still the binding is not happening. The rate post mapping save. Everything is correct only. We are facing some issue today. Let me check it why we are facing this issue. So we'll continue this in the next class. Okay, Sucharita.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I'll check out why that error is coming. It's the binding is not happening properly here. So I might have done some small mistake. We'll look into this. Okay. Okay. So we'll see in the next class and we'll complete this total application in the next class. Okay. So the main objective is what are the data we are reading from here. This all data I want to store it into a database table. In our case, we are going to use H2 database here, a embedded database which is coming along with Spring. Okay. So we'll see the complete picture on this and we'll write the complete code here. Still, if it is creating problem, let us write the complete code and check it whether it works or not. Okay. So we'll see you on Monday and we'll complete this total application on Monday. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.